So, Indonesia is leading the world right now, not in terms of money, but in community life. It really makes you wonder, is the secret to well-being actually found somewhere other than the richest countries?
Just to set the scene, it's May 12, 2025, and a new study out of Harvard kind of turns our assumptions upside down. Indonesia, not the US or Sweden or Japan, comes out on top for human flourishing. I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's the Global Flourishing Study. They spent 5 years on it, over $43 million, and surveyed 200,000 people across 22 countries. They didn't just ask about happiness. They looked at health, meaning, character, relationships, financial security, spiritual well-being. And Indonesia landed at the top. Wealthy countries? They were mostly in the middle, sometimes even lower.
So we're not just talking about GDP or straight-up income. Indonesia, Mexico, the Philippines. These are all middle-income countries, and they scored the highest. Meanwhile, Japan, which we usually hear about for its longevity and economic power, actually came in last. That's kind of unexpected.
Right. The main point is just being a high-income country doesn't guarantee a flourishing life. What stood out in Indonesia is their strong social fabric. Day-to-day life there centers around family, big households, religious routines, and community events. Have you ever heard of gotong royong? It's this idea of mutual aid, neighbors regularly helping each other out.
So it's not just about money, it's about feeling like you belong, right? Indonesians report really high satisfaction with their close relationships and, pro-social character. But why should that matter for, say, countries like the US or the UK?
It's actually a big deal for how policymakers think about what progress means. If things like community and meaning are this important for flourishing, maybe high-income countries have something to learn here. Imagine if governments focused more on supporting community centers, or made it easier for people to gather, or even encouraged cultural and religious connections. Those things could really make a difference.
But isn't it a lot harder in places where people are used to being more private or independent? Like in the US, social isolation has become a real problem these days.
Exactly. That's one of the toughest parts, cultural difference. But even so, the study shows that meaning, purpose, and relationships matter at least as much as financial security. Maybe even more, especially in middle-income countries, statistically.
Let's get concrete for a second. The researchers measured happiness, health, meaning, character, relationships, financial security, spiritual well-being, all together. And those middle-income countries did best on meaning and relationships. If you could improve those, does the data say you actually improve overall flourishing?
That's exactly the question people are wrestling with now. The answer from the data seems to be yes, and it's making governments rethink. Should they keep pushing for more economic growth, or put more effort into building chances for connection and purpose?
And if they do, could we see changes beyond just well-being? Like, could it affect health, education, maybe even crime? This seems like more than just, a feel-good headline.
Absolutely. It could shift how global priorities are set. The study is kind of a message to NGOs and policymakers. Don't only chase GDP. Look at community. Look at meaning. Look at engagement. That might be where lasting well-being really comes from.
So what is flourishing then? Not just being happy or financially secure, but feeling connected, having purpose, being supported by your community. Indonesia's example really changes how we talk about all this.
And it makes us ask, what do we actually value in our own societies? Are we even measuring the right things?
That wraps it up for today. I think the big takeaway is that flourishing can look pretty different from what you'd expect based on GDP charts.
Thanks for listening. Indonesia's story is a reminder that thriving might depend less on wealth and more on the connections we share. Until next time, keep thinking about what it means to live well.